Huh. Did you guys know that in some locations, some countries or whatever, the movie's called Pirates of the Caribbean Salazar's Revenge? Honestly, I think that would have been a much better title than Dead Men Tell No Tales because there's a reason for why that title is not on the posters. It's too goddamn long. Hey guys, David here with a really quick review of the latest Pirates of the Caribbean movie, Pirates of the Caribbean, with the proper title, Dead Men Tell No Tales. It's another adventure with Jack and the crew and everybody, and I'm going to keep it rather short because I am tremendously tired. I apologize if I'm a little on the down low because I'm really tired. Just got off of a 8-hour shift from work. I'm tired. I want some rest, but I figured before it's rather too late to never post it, even though it's already a day late, I'm going to go ahead and try to convey my emotions on the latest outing from the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise before it's out of people's heads. So, my thoughts on the new Pirates of the Caribbean movie, which sees Jack Sparrow facing off an old foe from his past named Salazar, who has a very particular bone to pick with Jack, and somehow he manages to find himself entailed into an adventure that involves a trident and various other people trying to covet this trident for their own little purpose. Oh, I'm sorry, did you think that they were looking for the trident in the last one because it had to do with mermaids? No, that was the Fountain of Youth. Yeah, you're starting to see my problem here. It's actually, the plot for this movie is rather exchangeable with the one from the last one, where you have a MacGuffin of some kind, and everybody, including Jack Sparrow and various other pirates, are out there to get it for themselves. And somehow this franchise continues to bring back old folks like Jeffrey Rush and many other characters, including some of the mainstays of Jack's crew, like Kevin McNally as Gibbs, and then you got Martin Kleba as I can't remember his name, I'm sorry, I can't remember the character's name, but he's the little man that's walking around, that's always been part of his crew, he's always been part of these movies, and they continue to come back here to do their thing that they always do. And that's kind of where this movie falls kind of somewhat apart, is because it's the same thing. It's the same thing as the last one. It has its fair share of cool moments, and one of the things that the franchise has always excelled at is the villains. The villains have always been actually rather cooler than your main protagonist, which is a little bit sad, but they're always kind of like a spectacle to see. And that's no exception here with Javier Bardem playing Captain Salazar. He is awesome, not only with his design of how his face is tearing away and how certain things float, but also his crew. His crew is like, it's almost like they forgot to render the rest of the crew, but purposely, like it's like in a game where certain characters didn't render all the way and they're like missing an arm or whatever, but that's part of the whole jizz, that's part of the effect, and it really works, and that's a really cool and badass villain to go up against. It's just a shame that the movie sometimes forgets that villain is in the movie in the first place. And speaking of Bardem, Javier Bardem, he's too good for this. Like, there's so many scenes. If he had a wider range and some more screen time, he would have been able to deliver on the same tier as Davy Jones to become one of the more memorable Pirates villains. I know it kind of sounds like I'm just bloating myself out here with a movie like Pirates of the Caribbean, but the script really is all over the place. Other people were finding pacing issues within Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, and for some reason I didn't. Here's one where I will definitely find some heavy pacing issues, because the movie forgets that certain characters are in the movie, including your main villain, at a point where there's certain humongous gaps where it forgets that Javier Bardem is in it, it forgets that the British has somehow got involved with the plot, and now they're trying to follow Jack into wherever it is that they're going within the oceans. There's Jeffrey Rush's character, who they've managed to rope into this, who quite honestly didn't have to be here, and there's so many like plot devices and things like that that didn't necessarily need to be 100% tied into this, because it's starting to feel a little like one of the things that we kind of complain about in the Star Wars movies, where it's such a vast universe, a vast galaxy, and yet everybody has to be 100% connected, and that feels a little forced here in the script, where so many things kind of come out of left field and are felt slightly out of place, to where there's too many detours that the movie forgets where it needs to be. It also forgets one of the things that made the first Pirates of the Caribbean movie, and I'll go as far as to say the first 3 Pirates of the Caribbean movies, really charming. And that is your main protagonist. That's your big moneymaker, Jack Sparrow. What the hell happened? This guy is just a nuisance in this episode, and One of the clever things that the movie had going for it that I thought was really, really smart and really awesome was that the movie was self-aware how low this character has fallen. Because I need to give you guys a little history lesson here. This guy was really cool in that first movie. He had this swagger, he had this cool thing that made you want to hang out with the guy. And it's almost like the industry recognized how big of a lightning bolt that was caught in a bottle, just like that the ship is in this movie. That was the case with Jack Sparrow in the first movie, to the point where, if you guys don't remember, Johnny Depp was nominated for Best Actor in a Leading Role at the Oscars that year for Pirates of the Caribbean movie, because that's how great his character was, and that's how well he was able to portray that character, and how he was able to just kind of magnify the screen towards him in every frame. This guy's a fucking loser in this movie. Like, it was so, and the movie, again, is kind of self-aware of what's happening, that almost everybody's looking at him and be like, dude, what happened? You used to be so cool. What was it? And that's what I thought was really smart, and they could have used that to great effect, but without spoiling anything, the movie never actually rectifies that situation, and never gives Jack an arc to kind of overcome his battles with alcoholism. It never really kind of makes the character go through something so that he can become that character that we used to love and respect and want to be around from that very first movie, or even the first 3 movies. And since then, he's just that drunk uncle that used to be cool, but ever since he lost his way and now he has to sleep over your place every Thanksgiving, you're just like, oh my god, when is this guy gonna go? Now, before you get your swords out, I'm not completely lambasting all of the movie, because it still has its fair share of redeeming qualities. There's a certain level to the direction and the cinematography that actually looks really good and makes certain scenes really pop, especially with how colorful it could be. That's more than I can say for some other sequels. And there are some cool action sequences and some clever things that they do visually, whether it be with the, like I said, the dead crew behind Javier Bardem's villain protagonist character, as well as some of the little tricks that he has up his sleeve, like the ship being able to open apart and kind of become like this little Venus flytrap of a ship that's able to take down ships across the sea. That's actually a really cool spectacle, including the undead sharks that he unleashes ever so often, that I think he could have used at least a couple more times. And ever so often there's that cool trick that he kind of pulls out of his sleeve that is really awesome, but on the other hand, I'm like, why didn't you just open with that? You could have probably saved yourself an awful lot of trouble. And there's also other moments that are fun, but I have to warn you, they become ridiculous on the Fast and the Furious level. On the Fast and Furious level. In fact, there's an opening scene in this movie at the very beginning where it's almost like they overheard the fate of the Fast and Furious franchise over in the corner, and they were like, hey, yo, man, we got a safe being dragged around Rio de Janeiro. And the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise was like, that's all, mate. Hold my around. And even though it's kind of obvious what the movie's trying to do with these younger characters, the Henry character and Karina, the 2 pretty faces of the entire group, like the prettiest people in the entire movie, even though it's kind of obvious that these are kind of supposed to be like the surrogate versions of Will and Elizabeth from the original trilogy, because it's kind of shameless at that point, they are thankfully very likable. Like, not only are they pretty good in their roles, but there's a level of chemistry that they kind of flourish with each other. To the point where, just like the movie was being kind of self-aware about how low Jack has fallen, they were also kind of self-aware with the roles that they were given, to where one character's even like, dude, I like her, but I'm not gonna fall in love with her. We just met. And I'm like, okay, I like that. Though, I can already see some people already getting worked up over the feminist agenda here with this character. And I will admit, a couple scenes here laid a little thick, but because of the charisma behind this actress and the character, I'm like, you know what? I'm actually rooting for you two. I would like to see you in a couple of more movies. And without spoiling anything, they do kind of tie in with the original trilogy in a way that kind of has to do with the plot. Even though at the beginning I said that it wasn't necessarily needed to be in this movie. That was kind of redundant. At least they did something at the end that can kind of open the door for some possibilities. Even though that doesn't do enough for me to want to look forward to the next one, you did at least something there that can have some potential. It really is quite ironic. This is in fact the shortest Pirates of the Caribbean movie, running at just a little over 2 hours, and yet it still managed to feel slightly as slow as those other ones. Because those other ones, we started to reach the heights of 3 hours with that third one. It was like 2 hours and 50 minutes. But it had enough going for it when it comes to its, what's the word that I'm looking for? tenacity. Like, there was something that Gore Verbinski was able to bring to those movies that had like some teeth to it. And here, it just feels like a fucking cartoon from scene to scene, with the exception of some cool things or some cool elements within the writing when it comes to at least these two younger characters. And again, some aesthetics that look cool on the screen. They gotta find something to kind of tighten up the mythos and tighten up the chemistry with these characters. But more importantly, the big anchor, and yes, that's a pun, is Jack Sparrow. They need to fix this character. Otherwise, these movies are not going to be as enjoyable as they can be. And that was, in fact, the case with Dead Men Tell No Tales, where at the end of it, I was just kind of like shrugging to myself. Especially after the end credits stinger. This one does have a scene at the end credits, and even though it teases something big, it's something big that is actually rather questionable because of prior events. That just makes you go, what? How? Anyways, my rating for Pirates of the Caribbean Dead Men Tell No Tales is a very, very, very low 7 out of 10. Enough things here to enjoy and to make the movie digestible, but they're gonna fix some other things rather soon before this franchise sinks to the bottom of the ocean. Anyways, that does it for me. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys have seen Pirates of the Caribbean Dead Men Tell No fucking title, Pirates 5. If you have seen the movie, please let me know in the comments what your guys' thoughts were on the film. Do you think that there's some potential for some sequels coming up that maybe they can get things better? Or do you think it's just going to just torpedo to the bottom of the ocean, just like I keep making puns of, because it's rather fun doing these puns. I'm gonna go retire to bed now, or video games at least, to kind of wind down. That does it for me, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Again, you could always support the video by liking and sharing. Follow me on Instagram and on Twitter at DarkSpiderDavid. That is my handle. And continue to support the channel by hitting the subscribe button down below. And if you guys haven't already seen it, I did a video asking you guys if you are down for some kind of long-range format where I do like a podcast-style type of show every week, or at least every 2 to 3 days, like is it bi-weekly or semi-weekly? Bi-weekly, yes, it's bi-weekly type of thing, and I will very much love your guys' input, so please check out that video, post comments on that, and let me know what you think of that idea, and also make sure to stay tuned for future videos. And again, you can do so by hitting the subscribe button down below, and making sure you tick on that little bell notification button right next to it. Until next time, guys, take care. I will see you all later.